Hey folks, welcome back to the podcast. In today's Flashpoint, I'm catching up with Candace Miller from Skills for Justice. For those of you who don't know, Skills for Justice are the proud member of CPD organisation that's continued professional development, and they are committed to the provision of high quality certified CPD. Candace is going to be a future guest on the podcast, so super excited to get that chance to catch up with them. A unique little twist for Skills for Justice is that they are a not-for-profit organisation committed to developing and improving sustainable workforces across the UK, from the justice section to the fire and rescue to local government and our armed forces. So they play a massive role in upskilling us. You've got to be that relentless student. Anybody that's been listening to the podcast will know that is so up my street. So it was great to catch up with Candace. So I hope you enjoyed today's Flashpoint. Be sure to look out for other ones coming up soon. And a word to the wise, today's Flashpoint was brought to you by William Wood Watches, the makers of those beautiful fire service watches, the company with the vision to create beautifully crafted British luxury watches made from upcycled firefighting equipment. After today's Flashpoint, be sure to jump on over and check them out, williamwoodwatches.com. Candace, welcome back to the Emergency Services Show. First and foremost, pretty crazy coming back after sort of 18 months.
Yeah.
I know you guys haven't been sitting on your hands though. You know, you guys didn't go seeing you there, but even from the reflections of my own service, Skills for Justice, I felt like it was a thing 10 years ago, and I know you're going to come on in a future episode, but it seems to be gaining momentum, and it's more and more of a presence of our professional and personal development in the workplace.
Definitely.
So what's the team been up to in this time?
So, I mean, a lot. I mean, one of the things that we do, we've got a membership offer, and we're launching, and have just launched actually, a new membership offer. It's all about bringing people together for networking, to explore best practice, to just really talk about what matters in learning and development for not just firefighters, but the whole of the emergency services world. And also on SFJ Awards, we've been continuing to deliver endpoint assessments for a whole range of apprenticeship standards and indeed qualifications over this past year, including moving to an almost total digital world.
Now that is a scary, some people when they hear the word digital, combined with personal development, they can get petrified about death by PowerPoint, online stuff, but you seem to have come up with a much more interactive way of doing it. So what's been new on that front now?
Well, really what we do is it's all about the assessment process, because SFJ Awards and Skills for Justice don't do direct training.
What's the difference? Sorry to interrupt you there.
Sure. So, there literally are two separate organisations.
Okay.
They're part of the same group.
Okay.
So SFJ in the SFJ Awards originally stood for Skills for Justice Awards. But when we were working with people in the health sector, and they were saying, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Why?
Skills for Justice in the health sector. So we just changed.
Was it just the name that didn't
Just the name.
Okay.
So we changed the name, and the name is now SFJ Awards, which from their perspective, and I'm not going to say all of this on your podcast.
No, it's fine.
But from their perspective, stands for skills for flexibility for jobs, and they can live with that. So we do a national volunteer certificate in the health sector, for example, under SFJ Awards.
Yeah.
But we're all part of the same group. So I'm part of the group team, which includes Skills for Health and Skills for Justice and SFJ Awards. Yeah.
Wasn't there a fact that historically I felt like people would gain qualifications in the emergency services, but there was a frustration that they weren't recognised externally? I feel like, if I'm hearing you correctly, and if my interpretation of Skills for Justice is right, these are now industry recognised qualifications. So when you actually, if anybody should leave emergency services, hope they wouldn't, but these are recognisable skills. It's not like you could spend a decade in the fire service or 2 decades and come out and have no actual tangible qualification in anything.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's really, as a regulated awarding organisation, so we're nationally recognised by Ofqual, by all the different regulatory bodies in the UK for qualifications. And because we're regulated, it's got currency, it's got transferability, so you can take
all the authenticity, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It puts a bit bolsters almost the side of it, doesn't it?
And it also, what it means as well is, I mean, we don't set the standards, let's be honest. So, bodies like NFCC, College of Policing, a whole range of other parties are there to define the standards. Our job is to translate them into robust assessments.
And support people to help them reach it.
Helps them move on and up, you know. So that's what we're all about.
Just development is a scary thing for people that are perhaps in a little bit more of a fixed mindset. I wanted to speak to you finally, and I know we're going to have a proper chat at some point in the near future. Apprenticeships. Try and give me a whistle, because some people hear apprenticeship, they have a connotation of age relation. They're like, I thought that was just for 16-year-olds.
No.
Or they hear apprenticeships and they go, oh, you mean minimum wage?
No.
Or they hear, and there's lots of this confusion / negative connotation / I know it in a soundbite. Help me dispel that, and I know it's something we're going to come on to in the future.
So we'll talk about it at length, I'm quite sure, but apprenticeships are actually a phenomenally good way to learn while you're earning.
Yes.
So what you're doing is you are having practical exposure to the workplace. So your learning is at depth. You know, you're not just sitting in the classroom learning something. You are actually putting it into practice day to day.
So for like a kinesthetic learner, you're out there, you can actually see the end product of what they're doing, rather than a constant lecture of, imagine this,
no, it's not
imagine
magic.
that,
Do it for real.
yeah,
Do it for
and
real.
they compile experience,
Absolutely.
right?
So you're getting the full spectrum of learning experiences.
Okay.
And if you go across here at the emergency services, show the various demonstrations.
Yes.
I was just talking to a colleague. That's what we do in endpoint assessment for apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Exactly that. We have cutting of cars, we have at height, we have water rescue, you name it. Endpoint assessment covers the practicalities.
I love as well, just briefly, I know I have to stop myself getting carried away, but I know from having some familiarity with some of the stuff that you guys do, the way that you now assess and validate evidence and stuff like that was really refreshing to me, because I used to be used to the whole sit down, write a written assessment, sit down, do a test, whereas now it's video form, it's audible, the way that people can evidence. So people that historically struggle with sitting down doing a test, people that struggle with sitting and reading, you know, if they're more a visual learner or a kinesthetic learner, you seem to now, and it's for somebody like me who didn't fit the conventional box, it's reassuring, because I felt that really limited me. I felt I really slowed down my career for maybe the first 5 years, having to sit down and write a test. And I was like, but now it's different.
That's the big change, I think. We've seen that in qualifications, I've seen it in apprenticeships across the years. When I first started in the educational world, it always struck me as a nonsense. If you want to know if somebody's good at doing something, you get them to write about it. You know, why would you do that? That's mad. So now
you wouldn't assess an artist by saying, just give me 2 paragraphs on how you did that, and they'd be like, I can't really write about it. It's more of a feeling, and
of course, it's stupid, it's madness. So what we try to do is make sure the assessment is as robust and as credible and as real.
We're not talking about diluting it.
No. Oh goodness me, no. If anything, it's a deeper test.
And ironically, the people that can better do can't always necessarily articulate.
Absolutely
and equally,
right.
the people that are best teachers aren't always the best doers.
Absolutely
so it's finding that middle ground.
Exactly so.
Beautiful. Candice, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks a lot.